So what is Christianity ended in AD 70, and why now? Why is it being preached now, and what is the point? Alright, Christianity ended in 70 AD is the greatest message of love that exists right now in this world. It's the greatest message of love, and it's also a warning, a very dire warning for this time. You don't need to know my accolades. You don't need to know what I've done with God. You don't need to know my testimony. What you need to be able to do is hear what's true. A lot of people say that my message is a message of hate. I do make certain videos appealing to certain types and other videos appealing to other types. If you're believing what your Bible says, Paul said that he became all things to all men so that he might save a few. Well, YouTube, I make certain videos for this and I make certain videos for that, but the real message that I'm trying to get across in all of the talking in all of the different ways is that this message is about love. I don't tell you that the Bible is not true. This is not a message of hate. I tell you that the Bible is true. I don't tell you to reject Jesus. I tell you to believe what he said. Believe what the apostles said. Believe everything that they said. Believe what was written down. Believe what God did through the Jews in bringing Christ to the world and redeeming the planet. Throughout all of the history that you have in the Bible, from Adam and Eve until whenever, Adam and Eve had a choice. The world was not supposed to be the way that it is now. We were not supposed to die. Adam and Eve had a choice. They chose wrong. Since that time, everybody that's come from that seed has died. We all die. We don't live forever. That's not how God wanted it. That's not how he intended it. But we had a choice. God got Israel together. They had a choice. The law was not something that God wanted, and it was not something that he intended. They had a choice. He gave them the law as a curse because they were wicked. Paul said that the law was given for the unrighteous and for sinners, for murderers, for thieves, not for the righteous. But God gave that law. They had a choice. The law was not the will of God. It is not the way that God wanted things to be. God sent Jesus Christ to fulfill everything, to fulfill the whole old world and deliver the kingdom back up to God, so that our flesh would not be weighed in the balance anymore, so we wouldn't be bound by a curse anymore, and so that heaven and earth would change to where our spirits, as soon as they die, can go be with God. And heaven and earth changed in the fact that before, people had to be born again to be saved. Now, you're born in God. But people make choices. You've made choices. The reason the world is the way it is today, it's not what God intended. It is not his plan. His plan is that none of us judge each other for the flesh, because we're all made in the same flesh, and the same blood of Christ covers every single person's flesh that has ever been born on this earth. His blood ran onto the dirt. We're all made of that same dirt. And we are supposed to not judge each other for that, which in turn makes us have good hearts, be patient and kind with everybody, to where there would be no racism, no anything, because God is all and in all from birth. I love you guys. I love all of you. I love every single person that has ever born on this planet. I am not what separates us. You separate us. By not believing the words of Jesus Christ, by not believing the words of the apostles that they already returned, that they made a short work on the earth, and that he delivered the kingdom back up to God and was subject to God. By you not believing that, you think that I need to be baptized or I don't have God in me. I know that God's in you, but you're not listening to him. You think that I have to do this, that, this, I gotta be in this religion with you, I gotta do this, and this separates the whole world, and you don't see what Christ did, which was the greatest thing that has ever happened on this earth since Adam and Eve were created. The greatest thing that's ever happened is Christianity ending and Christ delivering the kingdom and his kingdoms to God so that God could be all in all. Jesus said that he sent his angel to talk to John. He sent his angel. That was the Spirit of Jesus. He sent his Spirit to talk to John. Once the marriage supper came, This was whenever Christ was done reigning. And the Lord God omnipotent reigns. And then John fell down to worship Jesus, and Jesus said, "See that thou do it not, for I am of your brethren, and I have the testimony of Jesus Christ." And he said, which is the spirit of prophecy. He said, worship God. So Jesus was reigning. He delivers the kingdom back to God and says, John, worship God, not me. Jesus always knew that this was about God. And he is very unhappy that you guys think that he is God. He's very unhappy that you think that you still use his name and everything else, and the whole work that he did, you reject, because he always knew. He knows who God is. And he tried to get you to go to God and the whole world to be back to God, but we made choices again. And those choices brought Christianity through wicked, horrible means, through the Catholics and Constantine and popes and King Clovis, Justinian, Charlemagne, King James, King Henry, the Protestant Reformation who used to burn people at the stake for disagreeing with them. And this is true. This is your John Calvin burning people at the stake. So they didn't agree, so he got the guy burned at the stake, you know. This is the kind of stuff. Protestants bringing over the Bible to wipe out the Native Americans and steal the land. It was all wrong. The president swearing on it, it's all wrong. Swearing on the Bible. Every bit of this is wrong. And because of you and your religions and your Islam and your Jewish religion, the Torah and your Christianity, you reject everybody. You keep racism in the world, you keep borders, you keep language, you keep culture, and you don't see that God is in everybody. So you cannot treat them right, and you're casting off all of God's children throughout the ages. Throughout the last 2,000 years. You're casting them off, saying that they were not right, and they were all lost, and you're the only one, and your denomination's the only one. Some of you think you are actually the only one. And you're rejecting all the words of them. God is about to judge the world again. He always sends a message and a messenger to judge the world. Now, my message is not going to be heard. It should be heard, but again, you make your choices. Christianity Ended is not going to be heard because of you, not because of me. I'm doing everything I can, not because of God, because of you. The law was not supposed to be given. It wasn't given because of God. It was given because of wicked men. Adam and Eve were not supposed to fall. They didn't fall because of God. They fell because of their choices. This message is out there. I'm doing everything I can to tell as many people as I can to believe the words of Christ, believe what the Bible said, believe the apostles, and believe the greatest story that ever happened. The greatest story of love that's ever happened to mankind. But you refuse to love everybody. You refuse to see what Christ did. And judgment's coming again. He always sends a message before there's a judgment. This is a new message. It hasn't been said in 2,000 years. Now people are telling you that Christianity ended. Why? Because judgment is coming, and it's going to be horrific. It always happens this way. God sends a messenger, then he sends judgment. Messenger, judgment. Messenger, judgment. That's what he does. He sent messengers now. And it's not my fault. It's you people watching this. You're the reason that my videos will not be seen. You're the reason that people aren't going to heed this warning, and you're the reason that the world is not going to change to love. And you'll also be the reason that millions, if not billions of people lose out with God and do not believe him anymore when these coming events transpire. Because what is going to happen, and I challenge you, if you hate me, you won't accept this challenge. You'll know that I'm trying to get you to make sure that my videos are seen. And you'll think every reason in the world that I'm doing that. Oh, he just wants this, he wants to be that, he wants to do that. You're not going to believe what I'm saying, and you're not going to share my videos. But my challenge is still there. I challenge you to share my videos and see which one of us are right. Let me tell people and see which one of us are right in the coming events that are about to take place. Because this is what's going to happen. I'm telling you this. I've never heard anybody else say this. And like I said, you don't need to know my accolades, because I about went on to tell you how I got this information and how God is really, really with me and what happened in my life. But there's no point in me telling you that. You should be able to hear the truth. You're not going to hear just because of that. There's plenty of men out there claiming things and claiming to have a message from God. So the only way that you're going to believe that this is a message from God is if you can just hear plain, simple truth, and if you're willing to tell the truth, and if you're willing to tell the truth about what Jesus said and what the apostles said. So this is what's going to happen, and we're going to see who's right, okay? All of you will think that you are right. There's about to be a war, and it's going to revolve around the temple. This is where all the hype of this war is going to come from. The Temple Mount and the Dome of the Rock. And there's going to be destruction of the mount, whether in the middle of the war, whether that's what starts the war, I don't know. But because of this war, it's going to be between over 2 billion Christians, around 2 billion Muslims, and 16 to 20 million Jews. And Jerusalem, Israel, will be destroyed yet again. You're going to think that a temple is about to be built, and that a Messiah is about to come. You're going to think that the Antichrist is about to come, or the man of sin. You're going to think that the mark of the beast is coming. You're going to think that the Dome of the Rock needs to be destroyed so that a temple can be built. And this is going to affect the whole world. This is the most holy place, or the most at least focused on holy place, to over half of the world's population. And some of you think that the temple needs to be built. The Jews think it needs to be built so a new Messiah can come. The Muslims think that God gave them the Dome of the Rock and that Jacob and Abraham and everybody is part of theirs also. That that's part of them. God gave them the Dome of the Rock and that they're supposed to spread their message throughout the whole world and that the end's also coming. Christians think that the temple needs to be built so the man of sin can come and sit in the temple and the Antichrist can come so that Christ can come and destroy him in the temple and the rapture can take place. You guys think that. Billions of you think that. And I'm telling you that this is what is actually happening. Because of you not hearing the words of Jesus and understanding that Christianity already ended. Because of you rejecting everything and not being able to love your neighbor, not being able to see God in all people, and rejecting the greatest love story that has ever taken place on planet Earth. Because you've rejected it when we could be a perfect society of love. And everybody being together. And there being no race, no racism, no nothing. Everybody mixing together, all being one race, this is the way it should have been. There shouldn't have been any judgment. There shouldn't have been flesh judgment. I judge you for eating this, and you for wearing this, and you for not hearing this message, and you for not being baptized, and you for not taking communion, and you not for being baptized this way, for not listening to my preacher and my denomination, for not receiving the Holy Spirit. All of these things, you judge. You've separated the world, and you've caused a war to happen. This is not God's plan. This is not what God wants for you. He does not want, but you're not going to hear. You never hear. We never hear. Humans never do what God intends. Ever. So he has to do something else. And because of what you've done, you're going to cause this war, and it's going to be such a great war. It's going to be huge. I don't mean great as in woohoo, this is a good war. I mean it's going to be like they call it the Great War. You know, it's going to be massive, and it's going to involve every economy and every person, and it's all because of that temple, and because you did not believe the things of Jesus. And know that Christianity was over, and you did not accept the fact that you've had a conscience of God in you your whole life, telling you that those churches are wrong, those denominations are wrong, these religions are wrong, and that you should be loving this person rather than killing them, fighting them, hating them, and being racist towards them. Okay? So whenever you think all this stuff's going to happen, what's really going to happen? This is God's judgment on you, Christians, Muslims, Jews, and the whole world, for separating, for rejecting what Christ did. And that's why this message of Christianity ended is being preached now. Because he's trying to save the world from what's going to happen. He's a good God, he's a righteous God, and he's trying to save you. But just like the majority wouldn't hear in Moses' day, he had to give the law. Just like the majority wouldn't hear whenever the temple was destroyed and they were exiled in Babylon. The temple was destroyed. Just like the majority wouldn't hear whenever other men and prophets preached to them, but they killed the prophets. Just like the majority wouldn't hear whenever Christ came and the gospel was preached in all the world. Today, The majority of you won't hear. You are like the Pharisees who say, no, we have Christ. Instead, you're saying, no, we have Christ. They said, no, we have Abraham and the law. And you wouldn't hear the message that God sent to change it. Now you're saying, we have Jesus, we have the church, we have Christianity. But you won't hear the message of God. So this is what's going to happen. The temple will not be rebuilt. Israel will be destroyed again. The rapture will not take place. Jesus will not come. A man of sin will not come. And Antichrist will not come. None of these things will come to pass. There will be no mark of the beast. There will be no beast. There will be no mystery Babylon, because all of these things already happened. This is also for you after this war. If you don't hear me now, and you don't want to share this video, and it's your fault that the world doesn't hear this, it's your fault that this is happening anyway. It's also the fault of the people watching these videos that the world will not hear this. But some will hear, and after this war, some more will hear. And they'll say, he was right. It's not that he was some great guy that stood up and levitated and turned into a ghost before your eyes or anything, but he told you the truth that God gave him. None of these things happen, so what in turn happens in the world? This war happens because of you, and many millions of children are going to die. The whole world is going to change. Everything's going to change, and people are going to lose out with God, and people are going to never believe Christ. Because they're going to say, everything we heard, every preacher told us this was the end. We've been hearing it for 2,000 years, and it still didn't happen. And your mind is going to go to, if it didn't happen then, it's never going to happen. But instead of understanding that it already happened, you're just going to lose out with God completely, and the whole world is going to change shape, and the economy and who's ruling the world is going to change shape. The whole look of the whole world is going to change shape. Now, if you would hear this, believe, embrace, love, know that God is in all people from birth, you could change the world into a good thing. You could even stop this war. God does not set these things in motion and not stop them. God doesn't want to stop, doesn't want these things to happen, doesn't want these things to happen, doesn't want these things to happen. We continue to not listen, not listen, not listen, not hear that conscience, not hear that good voice. Never listen until we bring these things on, and then it happens. God would change and this war wouldn't happen if you would listen to what I'm saying. You're not going to listen. And you're not going to share this message. But I did what I was supposed to do. And I told you guys. And I'm going to continue telling you in many different ways, but know that my heart is to love you and wish that you could love me back. My heart is that we could be brothers and sisters, accept what Christ did for the world, accept what God did through Christ for the world, and that he delivered the kingdom back to God, and not judge each other anymore, and understand that we can go straight to heaven when we die. We don't need to fight and squabble over everything. Doesn't matter. Everybody's equally as important. Your children are no more important than your neighbor's children, than a Muslim's children, than Hindu's children, than an atheist's children. None of them are more important. Your kids, your family, your life is not more important than everyone else's. But your religion separates us, keeps us divided, and causes war. If you would understand this, that this is a message of love. I want to love all of you. I wish I could just walk outside without everybody hating me and wanting to kill me for this message. Wouldn't it be nice if I could have friends, you know? That if I could go and I wasn't afraid of the fact that everybody around me hates me. Muslims, Jews, Christians, Hindus, you name it, Buddhists. They don't like the fact that I tell them that that's not the way it is. I don't have friends because you guys. If you could get over it and understand that God is in all people, you could change the world. This is the greatest message of love, and it's also the greatest warning in this day and age. I hope you can hear it. Christianity ended in 70 AD. It's the greatest thing that ever happened. Christ was the greatest thing. Stop rejecting him. Stop not believing what he said and then saying that you are in him. Stop not believing what he said. He finished it all. It's done. But we chose again. This is not what God intended for this world. It's that little thing that we have called choice. And we always make the wrong one. You don't make the wrong one because of knowledge. This is our problem. You make the wrong one because of your heart. You don't have to know anything to know and to feel that it's not right that you hate me. You don't have to know that. You hate me and you're stuck in these religions because of your heart, not because of some knowledge. You can't hear what I'm saying because of your heart, not because of whether you're smart or not. You know? Your heart makes you stupid. It makes you evil and not want to tell the truth about things. Christianity ended in 70 AD. It is absolutely the greatest message of love, and it's what God intended. It's what Jesus intended. Jesus knows that he's not God, and he knows who God is, and he wants us to be with God. His whole work was for that. He hates that you guys worship him and won't let this thing go and reject the whole work that he did. Stop rejecting him. Believe what he said. Believe in your heart. Do the right thing to everybody around you. Go back and read and find out that it's all done. But like Paul said, we can look back at them and see the great works that Christ did through them. Throughout all these ages, we can see what God did through them. We can see that, the exceeding love that God had towards them through Christ. We can see that. And if you would see it the right way, you could stop this war, and we could all be friends. I could walk out in peace and actually have people love me. But I love all you guys, you just reject me. And even if you say, oh, I'll be around you, I'll love you, you're only doing that as some kind of verse you're trying to fulfill about loving your enemies. You are the reason we're enemies. It's your doctrine that separates us. Not mine. I accept all of you. But you won't accept me. And it's because you won't accept the truth. Christianity ended, Christ returned, and it's the greatest message of love in the world. And you're not going to listen to my warning. I want you to. I wish I didn't have to say that. But we as humans never do. And it's because your heart's bad, not your knowledge.